Hello, everyone, and thank you again for coming to our webinar devoted to Finance Cloud Security version 6 overview and what's new. Over the course of next hour, we are going to go through the product's overview and new features of version 6. At the very end of our webinar, we are going to run questions and answer session, so please feel free to put your questions into a questions box and we'll be answering them at the very end of our today's session. Please meet the speakers. So today, presenting to you will be Alex Karavanov. That's me. I'm managing the Five9 Software Solutions engineering team and have been to the security field for more than 10 years now. I'm also leading the major finance software management and security projects worldwide and aim to deliver best and the most efficient protection of virtual infrastructures to our customers. Ivan Vlasov, who is a PMM for finance software, is going to be helping me today with demonstrations of Five9 product in action. Ivan has been in IT field for more than 6 years and is very dedicated IT marketing professional. So Ivan within finance software is responsible for developing and delivering main product positioning worldwide. And he also possesses deep product knowledge as well as expertise in virtualization, management, and security. A few words about Five9 Software. Our company was founded in 2009 and currently headquartered in Chicago with a presence in more than 13 regions worldwide. Currently, we have more than 72,000 Hyper-V users globally, representing companies and data centers of all sizes. Our product lines currently include Finance Cloud Security that we are going to be covering today, Finance Manager as a Hyper-V and cluster management for small and medium businesses, and Finance V2V is a converter that helps VMware administrators to migrate their workloads to Hyper-V systems. A few words about our upcoming webinar. So on September 9th, we're going to run a Finance Manager webinar presented by Andreas Werthaler, Finance Technical Evangelist in German language. There's going to be one more related to Finance Manager September 15th, presented in Italian by our Technical Evangelist and Hyper-V MVP Silvio Di Benedetto. And the very first week of October, I'll be running Hyper-V admin tools for small and medium businesses and new users webinar to our listeners. So please stay tuned and you're very welcome to attend all of our webinars in future. So let's go into Finance Cloud Security overview. So Finance Cloud Security is the multi-layered protection for your Hyper-V virtual infrastructure. It includes antivirus, anti-malware, virtual firewall, and intrusion detection system, all included under the single pane of glass console. So with one solution, you actually get all these 3 layers of protecting your virtual machines that were built and designed from ground up for Hyper-V exclusively, and therefore is delivering you the best efficiency and performance possible for Hyper-V infrastructure. Product includes a few patent agentless technologies and multi-tenant support. Also, we strongly believe that security can be simple, and therefore we provide you with very simple administration of policies, rules, filters, and logs within the system. Finance Cloud Security can be managed via standalone console with Asia Pack extension, System Center Virtual Machine Manager plugin, and of course, automated via PowerShell API management options. The product greatly supports many compliance requirements. Of course, we fulfill the gaps that exist within infrastructures from the security perspective. There are multiple more requirements within security standards usually, but we fulfill absolute majority that are related to IT security protection. And of course, defining cloud security helps in multiple scenarios in compliance and regulation, enterprises protecting their virtual infrastructures, hosting and service providers providing services to their customers and making sure that they're completely isolated, small and medium businesses, and of course, virtual desktop infrastructures. This is something we'll be covering over the course of our today's session. With current systems that are virtualized, security seem and has really changed a lot. So virtual machines can spin up very, very quickly, and therefore traditional endpoint protection is not effective anymore. It requires installation on each virtual machine, therefore it slows deployment and greatly complicates management. So security solution has to be optimized for virtualization, for virtual infrastructure, and what's even better, it has to be built and designed from the ground up for virtualization and not adopted from a physical infrastructure to a virtual one with something like a virtual appliance. So best fit is to design the solution specifically for Microsoft Hyper-V and protecting virtual machines. So this is exactly what we do with Finance Cloud Security, and this is the way we allow you to protect this dynamic virtual environment that allows you to spin up new virtual machines very quickly, new virtual disks, and new virtual networks, and all of that is completely seamless to our solution, and you're able to keep your growing environment protected no matter how big that is. So how does Finance Cloud Security work? So whenever you receive traffic from outside world, first point when it gets to your virtual infrastructure is actually a physical network adapter of your Hyper-V host. So traffic gets onto your Hyper-V host, and then at the next point it gets to a virtual switch. So virtual switch is just in the middle between the Hyper-V host and virtual machines network adapters that actually requesting or sending this traffic. So traffic goes to a virtual network adapter only after passing through a Hyper-V virtual switch. So this is the perfect integration point because as all virtual machines talk through this switch, they communicate through this switch, we are able to completely control that via 5.9 filter and switch extension. So this is the exact point where we integrate within a Hyper-V virtual infrastructure just between capturing and forwarding extensions on Hyper-V extensible switch via our certified, one of the very first 3 native extensions for Hyper-V virtual switch that does filtering of every single packet. So whenever traffic arrives to a virtual switch, we already know if this is a allowed one and can go to a virtual machine, or if this one is not allowed or blocked, and therefore we stop it directly on a virtual switch level. This is absolutely agentless, guest agnostic, and of course the most efficient way of controlling your hyper-virtual networks and your virtual machines. So finance software does it directly on a virtual switch level via a native single pane of glass console. When we are building security for our infrastructure, we always have to keep in mind that there will be users who are going to use it. And if it is an enterprise infrastructure, this may be department users, dev teams, certain administrators of the departments who may be spinning up new virtual machines, or systems users, right? So business system users, ERP systems users, so or virtual desktop infrastructure users. So all of them still require protection, but you want to ensure that these systems, even though people have access to them, maintain their security level at a very consistent one. So you need to ensure that end users do not have access on actually altering the security settings that you've specified. This really gives you peace of mind and ensures that no one can accidentally, purposefully, or with bad intentions disable security measures that you've implemented for your Hyper-V virtual machines. So that is very important to try to abstract and hide security from your end users. And when you have an ability to manage that all from a centralized console, of course, this is the best possible way of managing your Hyper-V virtual machines infrastructure. So with virtual networks and virtual machines talking to each other, especially in private and public cloud environments, it is crucial to ensure that virtual machines are actually isolated from each other whenever there is no need for them to communicate. Because in case there is no limit for them um, and they can freely talk to each other, this represents a potential security flaw, a potential risk. So you want to ensure that virtual machines can talk only on the ports and protocols that have to be enabled for them. If there is no need for this traffic to flow, it has to be blocked and virtual machines have to be isolated not to affect each other. And this is crucial. This is what keeps your environment and virtual machines running safely. Also, uh, when you want to deliver a certain quality of service, you may want to limit allowed and send and receive bandwidth for each of your virtual machines to make sure that all of them get enough bandwidth whenever necessary. So this is something that you're also able to do on per virtual machine basis with fine and cloud security, and this is something that allows you to ensure QoS for other VMs. So as you know, within Hyper-V network virtualization, you actually get three main types of networks. So these are external ones, internal ones that allow virtual machines to talk to Hyper-V hosts, and of course, private ones. When you have so many layers of network connectivity for your virtual machines, you should monitor that very, very precisely because threats can spread from one client to another very easily, especially if virtual machines sit on the same, for example, private network. And traditional security solutions, especially physical appliances, they don't have a way to control private and internal networks for you completely because in internal and private networks cases, traffic never leaves Hyper-V host. So virtual machines can talk to each other directly, they can talk to Hyper-V host directly, and therefore physical device that may be outside of your Hyper-V host will never receive these packets and will never be able to filter them. So with finding cloud security, you eliminate that risk. Finding cloud security allows you to control traffic directly on a virtual switch level on any type of DAM, external, internal, or private, and therefore be absolutely confident that every single communication happening within your virtual infrastructure is under your control and you know exactly what can be allowed and what is prohibited. Within Finance Cloud Security, we are also using a unique virtual machine ID-based firewall filtering approach that allows you to quickly configure firewall rules and base them on virtual machines as units. Of course, we still support common scenarios whenever you want to create a firewall rule and base it on an IP address or a MAC address. But within virtualization world, we are able to leverage a unique virtual machine identifier to create a firewall rule for you. So whenever you create a rule this way, you actually go through a selection list. So you mark virtual machines by checkboxes. Therefore, you don't really have to know the interface address of any virtual machine. So you don't have to go through any spreadsheets to get correct data. It's very likely to make a typo whenever you're trying to type in IP address or especially IPv6 address, right? So whenever you select virtual machines with checkboxes, you cannot make that mistake. So it is very easy. And therefore, initial configuration of your firewall rules becomes 80% faster. So you save up to 80% of your time, and this is real data from our customers when just configuring firewall rules. And this is just one of the pieces of the product. Also, this is a very robust and secure way of configuring firewall rules, because even if someone changes IP address inside a virtual machine, traffic keeps flowing, because we do not really care about virtual machine IP address in that case. So even if that happens, if someone changes IP address inside a VM, firewall rules just keep working, and if it is a allow rule that you pre-created, it will allow traffic to go through. If it is a block rule, of course, it will keep blocking that. Also, this approach allows us to reduce number of VLANs necessary or avoid them completely. Managing VLANs can be a great overhead for you. Also, number of VLANs is limited to 4096. So, of course, you hardly reach that number just because it becomes so complicated to manage. So with unique VMID-based firewall filtering, you can actually configure firewall rules directly between virtual machines, allow security groups to talk with each other or inside a group, and therefore avoid the need to use VLANs completely. Also, NVGRE support becomes so much easier because whenever you configure firewall rules between virtual machines, you don't really have to worry about what virtual machines networks they're in. You just create them directly from one virtual machine to another. So with a Hyper-V infrastructure running multiple types of workloads, of course, it is very important to control every single packet and intercept traffic before it gets to virtual machines to be able to protect any kind of them. So if it's finding cloud security, we are controlling that at a virtual switch level. As it goes before reaching virtual machine, we are able to control any workload, any guest operating system inside your virtual machines that is currently running. And you know that with the latest statement by Microsoft that they announced actually on DACAT last year in Barcelona, Microsoft loves Linux. So Microsoft is just going to expand support of that about extra guest operating systems. So you have to ensure that any modern workload that can potentially go inside your virtual machine can be also protected. And this is what we do with Finding Cloud Security by allowing you to protect any Windows server running inside a virtual machine, any client operating system for VDI scenarios, or for any Linux distribution that is supported by Microsoft Hyper-V. Whenever a threat tries to reach your virtual machine, you have to be certainly aware about it. And this is what we allow to do with our virtual switch integration and constantly scanning traffic for potential signatures representing a network attack or potential virus flying on HTTP protocol. So whenever traffic flow is being analyzed, we detect malicious code via our signatures and alert admins automatically. Currently, we are doing that with unencrypted traffic, and also for antivirus protection, we are doing that for HTTP protocol. Whenever we are rolling out new virtual machines to the system, we need to ensure that antivirus protection also remains very efficient. So finding cloud security includes an agentless technology to perform full system antivirus scans of your virtual machines. Because agent-based scanning, the full system antivirus scans inside your virtual machines can be very, very heavy on resources. So with Finan, we are using a proprietary changelog tracking driver available from finance software directly for Hyper-V that allows you to scan only blocks that got changed since the last full system antivirus scan. Also, these scans are up to 70 times faster than legacy full system scans happening inside the system. So whenever new data gets on virtual hard disks, CPT driver analyzes that and allows us to record exactly what got changed and scan only the changes, making disk IOPS load very, very low and allowing you to save tremendous amount of your resources and time on virtual hard disks antivirus scanning. Within data centers, we realize that sometimes, and actually in most cases, you want to automate every single task that you perform. So that's why finding cloud security includes PowerShell API support that allows you to run tasks automatically using PowerShell scripts. Also, task scheduling, especially for antivirus jobs, allows you to eliminate potential human error when you want to launch a specific security task. Also, it helps you to ensure consistent SLA, enables scalability, and it allows you to scale and make sure that resources are utilized in the best available manner. With security protection, especially AV protection, you know that there were quite a few cases when traditional antivirus engines that were not fit and designed for Hyper-V and virtualization, they corrupted quite a few virtual machines on the initial stage. So with that, Microsoft actually created a KB article 961804 that recommended not to scan folders with virtual machine configuration files, virtual hard disks, replicated disk snapshots, and executables. The reason, it could cause corruption of all of these components. But of course, every single virtual machine is a traditional server. It still requires protection. And even though Microsoft suggested that and proposed a workaround to completely disable antivirus, that was related only to the antivirus solutions that were not designed for Hyper-V and for virtualization. So finding cloud security has antivirus that is absolutely hypervisor, where knows exactly that is running with Hyper-V virtual machines, knows exactly what to do with them. So corruptions are never even possible, and also even for the exclusions files, we also preset a set of files related to SQL databases, for example, that are pre-configured within the product and help you to ensure that antivirus works in the best available manner. Let's go over the architecture of finding cloud security and its enterprise availability. So finding cloud security has three main components, and the very first one of them is the management server that does synchronization between Hyper-V hosts and provides management interface. This is the one that connects to a SQL server and keeps logs and security settings there. The least supported SQL Server version is SQL Express, so you can surely use it to deploy it within a lab environment or POC environment if you don't have Microsoft SQL Server standard license yet. And of course, it works in small environments up to 120 virtual machines. As of management interfaces, we have Finance Console, Asia Pack extension, System Center Virtual Machine Manager add-in, as well as Finance PowerShell API that all connect to Finance Cloud Security Management Server and allow you to manage security settings for all of your virtual machines. And of course, we have a component that's present on each Hyper-V host. This is the one that actually integrates into Hyper-V Virtual Switch within Hyper-V hosts and provides you with change block tracking service, antivirus service, and of course, all the filter and capabilities. For enterprise customers, we've created a special redundant management group capability that allows you to ensure that even if management server that is a primary one is not accessible, you can always switch to a secondary one. So we call it a redundant management group, and this one ensures the highest availability of final cloud security services within your infrastructure. Meanwhile, management server is not a must to maintain a protection level for all of your virtual machines. Once security settings are set, they're all stored and cached locally for each of your Hyper-V hosts, and they keep working even if for any reason management servers or redundant management group goes down. Also, we recommend to be using SQL cluster in case you're talking about really big workload, maintaining a large amount of logs, or keeping data for a really long retention period. Also, with some enterprise customers using branch offices with Hyper-V virtualization inside, we want to ensure that security is consistent between main data center and branch office Hyper-V system. So for that, we've created a special find and sync mechanism that allows you to synchronize security settings between main data center management service and management service within your branch office. So that helps to actually cover the disaster recovery scenario whenever branch office virtual machines migrate to the main data center to maintain workloads up and running. So with that, you don't really have to go and reset security for this particular virtual machine. Once it is set up, you can just ensure that security keeps working the same way it was designed within a branch office, because we consistently and constantly replicate security settings configured for each virtual machine between multiple management servers. Finding Cloud Security provides a free add-on to System Center Virtual Machine Manager. This is available with Finding Cloud Security integration and allows to centrally manage the entire Hyper-V infrastructure as well as its protection levels. So this is the absolutely free, I would like to stress it, but allows our customers and users to ensure that they can save their time switching back and forth between consoles by leveraging the single System Center VMM console in case they already use one to manage their Hyper-V virtual infrastructure. And one of our latest management interfaces, and actually very important components that is an absolutely must-have to every cloud OS network provider or every provider in Asia-Pac, is the Asia-Pac extension. So this extension allows to provide security as a service by including Five9 Cloud Security as an offer to end users of Asia-Pac portal. This is also free to existing Five9 Cloud Security users and allows to differentiate from other hosting provider services and monetize with them with your customers. Also, this is very simple because for end users, for tenants, because we are following Asia-Pac best practices to keep providing services on the same easy to understand level. With that, I would like to give my word to Ivan to show you Find Cloud Security main features overview live right now.
Thank you, Alex. So you are now able to see the Find Cloud Security main management console. And I will start with the virtual firewall functionality available within the product as probably the very first thing it offers to the client. By directly integrating our solution into the Hyper-V virtual switch, Virtual Firewall allows you to completely isolate VMs from each other and as well configure all traffic rules. So practically it means that you can manage the way how each of the virtual machines communicate to each other. On the left side, you are now able to see the different layers of firewall rules that you can apply. These are the global rules that are unified for every single virtual machine. Some specific security rules united into groups to ease the management process. And to further make the process of creating new firewall rules easy and seamless, you can create a number of rules templates to make sure that all the rules have been consistently applied and followed. So in this way, for example, you can create a specific template rule for all of your SQL VMs. That means for every single new SQL VM, you will apply the specific rules that it needs to follow without making any repetitive day-to-day routine configuration tasks. See how easy the process can be. And now let's take a closer look to a specific virtual machine in a cluster. The first scene you can see here is like a firewall tab, and you see the list of firewall rules applied to a selected virtual machine. All the data here displayed is pretty self-explanatory. For each applied rule, you get additional supportive information like, for example, type of rules, directions, action performed, local and remote ports, and stuff like that. So in this way, you get all the detailed information from a single screen. And the next big thing is that we always keep track of the data, giving you the ability to do login and keep track of your historical information. So if you have, for example, an attack 1 month ago, nothing will get away from your eyes. Just load the log and see when things happened and just track what exactly you've done to make it not happen in the future. The next big thing is a built-in patent-pending antivirus. It is based on the Kaspersky or Threat Track engine. And for example, here you could see a single location to manage all of your antivirus scans for a specifically selected virtual machine on the host. At the same time, Active Protection feature will allow you to detect all the incoming threats because it enables you to run real-time scans inside of your VM. And moreover, you could even create a specific scanning job based on your own time preferences. So just choose what exactly you would like to scan, choose the time frame, and get things done. The next big thing is the intrusion detection system that is based on Cisco Snort signatures. It allows you to detect any type of malicious and suspicious activities in your virtual network. So, and actually do that already on a virtual switch level. And within the log, you will be able to see any type of those attacks with the detailed information of simply when, how, and where exactly it happened. And you can also configure the system settings to get an immediate email alert of when such an attempt of attack happens. The network traffic scanner here helps you to detect viruses floating on the HTTP protocol inside of your virtual network. It detects an attempt of your VM to upload or download an infected file. So on this tab here, you can see when this type of action happened and be ready to do the necessary remediate action. So with that, I would like to switch it back to Alex so he will walk you through the latest features and enhancements introduced in the 6th version of 5.9 Cloud Security.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for giving us this complete overview of hidden cloud security functionality. So, as we are going to talk about Final Cloud Security version 6 new features, we are going to cover the necessity of upgrading version 5 to the latest version 6 release. So with version 6, we've implemented some new core functionalities that allow you to strengthen your security levels within the Hyper-V infrastructure and make your security control a more granular one. So with version 6, we've added new analysis and alerting for network traffic anomalies, started to protect against new types of security and spoofing attacks, enhanced firewall protection with local IP address matching, automated and scheduled firewall rules are now available for each firewall rule. You can now create flexible layer 2 frame types and monitor Final Cloud security components. So let's cover every single one of these enhancements in a little bit more details. So analysis that we call heuristics analysis is built on top of our existing network statistics collection. So we collect packet size, traffic, and packets for each of the virtual machines. This helps us to be absolutely aware about a current baseline of a normal network behavior. So we create a baseline based on the data from the previous week, and we compare every single value and parameter of network statistics with this baseline. And in case this baseline is exceeded by a certain multiplication factor, we notify administrator because it definitely points to a potential flaw within the network. So it may be a security attack that was previously unknown. It may be someone trying to scan open ports within the system and other suspicious network behaviors. Also, it is absolutely great that this functionality is built in inside a product and doesn't require any special signatures and signatures updates. So it proactively detects unknown attacks using your existing environment as a source of data to create baseline and to analyze normal traffic behavior. Next new feature that we've added is local IP address matching, and of course a very important integrity check for each virtual machine. So with the local IP address matching, you can now select an IP address inside a virtual machine representing a dedicated interface, especially if a virtual machine is using multiple of them. This allows you to tie a rule to a very specific service inside your virtual machine. It makes sure that whatever you configure goes to that service only. Packet integrity check allows you to customize this for each virtual machine and allows you to protect from spoofing attacks. And therefore, if someone is trying to send modified packets to your virtual machine, trying to exploit some security flaw, this is going to be automatically stopped, and these packets are going to be dropped with packets integrity check system. Scheduled firewall rules allow you to set up a precise time frame for each firewall rule that you create. Therefore, you can reduce attack service by limiting access hours to every single of your virtual machines or to every single service. So whenever we create this kind of rule, we are using host time. So even if a virtual machine has to travel from one data center to another, you can be confident that whatever Hyper-V host time is set, that's all going to be very, very consistent. A few potential scenarios that I would like to outline. So that may be a VDI environment. So you may want your users to be using your infrastructure only in case these are working hours. So you may set it up as Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and make sure that no one accesses this virtual desktop infrastructure outside of these hours. RDS, terminal servers, of course, these are also the subject to these firewall rules. Services subscription hours is one more idea. So if you have a service that people pay for 24 hours a day, you may be still offering free one from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. each day. This is just a few suggestions that you can potentially use. Of course, feel free to use scheduled firewall rules for any scenario that you may need within your infrastructure. Custom layer 2 frame type support allows you to create custom frames for data link layer firewall rules. This allows you to make the control of that a very, very granular one, and also allows you to specify firewall rules on layer 2 to support your specific network hardware requirements. So for example, there are a few very popular frame types that you can use. Of course, if you have a specific hardware or you're using specific network techniques that have to be enabled or controlled, this is where you're going to investigate that. So I'm just giving you a quick list of the most popular ones. ARP and RARP ones are currently built inside the product already. So for example, wake on LAN frame type is 0842. Fiber channel over Ethernet is 8906. MPLS unicast, MPLS multicast, PPOE discovery stage, and PPOE session stage. So all of this are using specific frame types to communicate on data link layer, and now you're able to actually specify them in a very custom scenario, just within frame type field. And the very last, but still a very important enhancement that we've implemented within Finance Cloud Security is Finance Cloud Security Components Monitoring. With that, you're now able to check Finance Cloud Security Component status for each Hyper-V host, and these include host service status that provides you with firewall filtering, IDS, antivirus service status, change block tracking service status, and of course, filter and extension status, whether it is enabled or not. And of course, you're now able to review component status history that surely helps you to investigate in case of any potential security flaws or scenarios with your services. Right now, you see that on this screenshot, the host got rebooted, and of course, some of the services were not accessible. So once host started up, we see that all services are now in OK state. With that, I'm going my word back to Ivan to go over all the new features of Finance Cloud Security version 6 live and show you within our demo system.
Thank you, Alex. Now let me take a brief look on all of those new features you've mentioned. So to further strengthen your security, Finance Cloud Security will create a baseline of normal network traffic patterns for your virtualized environment, and then when it identifies an anomaly, it will immediately alert the administrator that a threat could be present. You can get these detailed statistics here on the Statistics tab. Choose how you would like to see the data, organize the view, and then just get a very detailed report in a convenient graphical format. The next thing is that Finance Cloud Security has enhanced security by checking that all the floating data is not being spoofed. Simply choose the VM settings here and then click on the packet integrity check. So these can be done separately for each single virtual machine where you would like to get this info. So the Finance Cloud Security can now also check whether the inbound or outbound network traffic comes from a specific local IP address. Type in the IP address here to specify the rule settings. This option can be used to ensure that certain network protocols only go over specific virtual network adapters. And in addition to this magnificent enhancement, you could use rules and scheduling tools to define, filter, and tune VM access. Now you can define whether a specific security rule needs to be enabled and how frequently. Just put a mark here in an appropriate checkbox to define the date, and then specify the time frame where you'd like to get this rule applied. And finally, a new option to monitor the availability of Finance Cloud Security components. For example, you could see here the list of all the components running, and you see that the statuses are OK. And here you get the detailed report on each of them where the servers were accessible or not. Observe the current state of the components from a single console view here and review the history of changes for every single specific host without the need to manually check each of the servers by hand. Now I'm switching back to Alex so he could conclude and run the rest of our presentation.
Thank you, Ivan. Thank you for showing us the most recent functionality included in the Finance Cloud Security version 6 live. So before we wrap up, I would like to go through licensing scenarios of Finance Cloud Security. Currently, we tie the licensing very closely to existing Windows Server licensing. Therefore, we license our product by 2 CPUs. There are 3 main licenses that are available: standard, enterprise, and data center license. They respectively cover up to 6 virtual machines, up to 20, and unlimited number of virtual machines. Um, Service provider licenses are available, and if you're running a hosting service and want to use our product within your offering, please acquire the SPLA license from your account manager. So, Finding Cloud Security allows you to cover virtualization and VDI security in the most efficient manner. Regulators know that, and hackers know how to exploit it. So you want to be completely protected. That's why we have a great quote by Alex here. Most partner solutions are just nice to have, but finding cloud security is the only must to have one. And surely for every single cloud OS network provider, finding cloud security is the great chance to improve protection of their entire services, to provide security to their customers as a service, and make sure that every single customer is running safely. Because otherwise, any single security breach can ruin reputation or business. And you don't really want to fall in that scenario. So better protect it and secure beforehand and make sure that none of this can actually happen. I would like to remind you that we are going to run a few more webinars in September, so please stay tuned and you're very welcome to attend any one of this. And we're also planning to give you some more great content in the months of October and November, so please stay tuned and follow our newsletters. A few very available resources regarding finding cloud security. Of course, you can read more about the product on the product page, as well as download the fully functional free trial of that to try it within your POC or lab environment. Please check out the Microsoft Virtual Academy course on Asia Pac partner solutions, and there is also a great white paper that I would recommend, created by Brown Posey, about challenges of securing hosted Hyper-V multi-tenant environments on our website. So now I would like to jump into our Q&A session. So please feel free to put in your questions into questions box, and we'll be happy to answer them live. Okay, so we have a great question by Eddie. So is it possible to upgrade version 5 to version 6? Yes, this is possible, of course. We consistently maintain our database to make the transition a very smooth process. So to update Finding Cloud Security from version 5 to version 6, first place, you have to update management services. Then you update Management Console, and then you have to update each host management service indeed. The reason you have to do that, we've greatly changed and enhanced our security capabilities for each of your Hyper-V hosts and virtual machines, and also enhanced our networking driver. So you need to update each Hyper-V host with the newest version of host management service and reboot each one of them. Luckily, with clustered environments, it is very easy to do because you can put hosts into maintenance mode and update them one by one. Please also note that if you perform an upgrade while you have System Center Virtual Machine Manager and logical switches in place, please ensure that you also update SCVMM compliance extension because it got updated with version 6 release. Great. Okay, so we have another great question here that's related to antivirus licensing. So do I have to acquire additional license for Kaspersky or ThreatTrack antivirus? Thank you. That's actually a great question. So finding cloud security includes the entire antivirus protection set inside our license. So you don't have to go and acquire anything extra from antivirus vendors. The license is already included and you don't have to go and contact them. So we want to be a single contact point related to your entire Hyper-V infrastructure security, and therefore we provide you all the required licenses for the solution. All right, so we have one more question coming related to VDI infrastructures. So do you recommend using Find and Cloud Security for VDI? Yes, certainly we do recommend running Find and Cloud Security for VDI environments. In this case, actually, the performance is a great factor that you have to maintain. So actually, with Find and Cloud Security, you're able to greatly save the performance of your entire system by offloading full system antivirus scans to a host level and making them agentless and incremental. So you save up to 70% of your time on scanning your virtual machines. And even if you use active protection agents, these are still absolutely lightweight and perform real-time tasks only. So we certainly recommend you to be using Find Cloud Security for VDI scenarios, and you probably could see in our webinar sessions in the last few months, we also partnered with Unidesk companies. So if you're a Unidesk customer, just we also support with their environments and their VDI infrastructures. So answer is definitely yes. I think, okay, so we have more and more question here. So is it possible to specify IP protocol numbers such as IPsec uh, or it's not supported? Actually, we've expanded the protocols numbers within Find and Cloud Security. Actually, that happened with one of our version 5 releases. So as you're talking about version 5.1, we've already implemented custom protocol numbers for your use. With that, we are ready to wrap our today's session. So thank you everyone for attending. Thank you for your great questions today, and thank you for your great feedback. And see you on our next webinars. Please stay tuned and good luck with protecting your Hyper-V virtual infrastructures. Goodbye.